Australia has started advertising for healthcare professionals from developing countries. You put on your YouTube right now, you see adverts from Australian government targeting African professionals. What the issue is, and I'm going to deal with it from two sides. One is the gravity of the problem. The other one is what I see as the solution, right? The solution is not preventing people from going. So get that. That's not the solution. You'll watch to the end of this video. I will capture my solution and what all of us can do to help avert this potential catastrophic tragedy. In this episode, we're going to be talking about something super, super important, very alarming, super important. And it's about why are all our nurses and healthcare professionals leaving the continent of Africa? And this is no joke. This is so serious. I think it teeters on national security issues, and all of us must be concerned. That's why today I'm not talking about the usual business entrepreneurship topics. I think this is so alarming. This is so crazy that Africans must do something about it. Else, the consequences are just going to be extremely negative. So recently, I had a conversation. I bumped into a friend who works as a nurse, and then and they were having a discussion together with another friend who's a doctor, as a consultant, and we were just having a chit chat, and I got to know of what was happening. You know, the consultant was very concerned that most of their experienced nurses are about to leave, are leaving or have left, and they are leaving predominantly to UK. No, and others are going to, I think, Canada, Australia. I don't know too much about US, but I would say, based on what they were talking about, they I think it's probably about 80-90% of all the nurses that had left their department had gone to UK. And the concern, particularly from the consultant, was that these are some of the best, most brilliant professionals they've had, and most importantly, I mean, I believe everybody is brilliant in a way, but what he said that was alarming was that their most experienced staff were jumping ship. And so there was this friend who was a nurse there, and he was like, okay, giving me all the reasons why his colleagues had to leave, and the fact that he was actually in the process. He's putting all his documentation together. So basically, he was in the process chain to leave, right? So I think from what he was telling me, within 6 months, I think he will be gone. And he was trying to explain why most of the people were leaving. And for me, being somebody who's lived both in Europe and US for many, many years, I kind of understand. It for me is very logical that some of them have chosen to leave, and they are not just leaving because they want to leave, because it's no news that the conditions of service in Africa for healthcare providers are most of the time terrible, right? They don't have the resources, they don't have the correct environment to do their work, and most of them are doing excellent work. So our heart goes out to all you people who are doing wonderful work in our hospitals and our healthcare institutions. You're doing an amazing job under very bad circumstances, right? Very bad motivation, bad pay, and the pay is terrible. And I get all of that. But I think the dynamics now is not about, say, the bad or terrible work conditions, because those work conditions have not changed over decades. What has changed is that I'm thinking, because of the Brexit and Brexit issues, and then also lack of skilled workers in some of these developed countries, they've intentionally relaxed their immigration laws to basically cause, in biology they call reverse osmosis, right? So they to actually suck away the healthcare talent of Africa. I think that is what is going, particularly in UK, because of all the backlog of cases in the NHS. That's the National Health Service that they have in the UK. Is huge, is big, and they have huge waiting lists for patients. If you're a patient in the UK and you want to do a procedure, you're going to have to be on a long waiting list because there isn't enough staff to carry out the work. So that is what has triggered the authorities to immediately, all of a sudden, loosen up their immigration laws to bring in talent from Africa and other places around the world. But I think Africa is being disproportionately targeted because they know our health institutions are weak. They know our health institution can't pay the professionals enough to make a decent living. They know all of that, right? So it's no news. So and I based on the argument that, or the discussions that we were having with my friend and the consultant, I think most people, and running it by a few people that I know, I think the argument should not be against people going. I think that is beside the point altogether. You can't actually force somebody to stay. If the person can't feed their family, you can't force them to stay, right? If the person is dangled of great opportunity that would change the lives of their family, their children, give them great quality education, they can put meals on the table, three square meals a day. You can't fault them for that. I think that is not the argument. For me, I look at it this way, that this is a national security issue, because what UK and the rest, I know Germany also has just relaxed their immigration laws for professionals, right? They are not tagging it as, getting African professionals, but it's also designed that way. Australia has started advertising for healthcare professionals from developing countries. You put on your YouTube right now, you see adverts from Australian government targeting African professionals. What the issue is, and I'm going to deal with it from two sides. One is the gravity of the problem. The other one is what I see as the solution, right? The solution is not preventing people from going. So get that. That's not the solution. You'll watch to the end of this video. I will capture my solution and what all of us can do to help avert this potential catastrophic tragedy that's beckoning. So what is happening, or the first part of the issue, is I don't even think our governments understand the gravity of the issue. If they do, they probably have intentionally turned a blind eye, which is very disingenuous, because records from immigration alone should tell them that a lot of people are leaving. Okay. Now, the issue is, if care is not taken, and this rate of transition or intellectual transition, or what do you call it? In Nigeria, they call it Japa, right? So if this Japa trend keeps going on at this rate, at this level of speed, over a period of time, I'm giving it like 2 years, between 2 and 3 years, this is what is going to happen. God forbid, if any loved one or relative has to do, let's say, a very complex or super expensive procedure. So let's say in any African country, so you're talking of Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and I'm talking predominantly about English-speaking African countries. So these are the key countries: Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, a few others. I think Cameroon as well, and a few others. Let's say the English-speaking countries. If they don't act very quickly, this is what's going to happen. God forbid, a family member, a friend, a loved one needs to undergo a life-threatening or a life-threatening medical emergency, or some kind of a procedure, surgery. What's going to happen is that in surgery, you definitely are going to need some kind of an anesthesia nurse who is very, 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 very experienced. We're going to need, for instance, let's say heart surgery, open heart surgery, whatever kind of heart surgery, you're going to need an experienced nurse in that operating room. Okay. any kind of organ transplantation or organ related surgery, any kind of tumor removal kind of surgery, you're going to need experienced nurses there. Neuro, that's anything involving the brain, right? You're going to need experienced nurses there. You're going to need experienced nurses in the area of autoimmune conditions as well. You're going to need experienced nurses in the area of OBGYN, right? Obstetrics, gynecology, and the rest. I'm not a doctor, so I know OBGYN has to do with reproductive, giving birth and that kind of thing, delivery, babies and things. They, you need a nurse in that room when they are doing that cesarean session. When God forbid that delivery turns complicated, you need that experienced nurse midwife there. So if all these experienced people are being taken away, right, are being taken away in massive droves, because UK is not just giving them work permits, they're giving work permits for them, their spouses, or their children, and settling them permanently in UK. When that opportunity is dangled in your face and you're struggling, won't you go? You will go. But the key is, are the general public aware that this is what is going on? And is the government also aware that this is what is going on? God forbid, and this is the biggest fear, God forbid if there is another episode of COVID or any kind of epidemiology or epidemic, right? Epidemic that happens, or pandemic happens, and God forbid all our experienced nurses are gone. Can you imagine what will happen in your country? Can you imagine what will happen in your community? You wouldn't want, right now, you don't want your relative or somebody dear to you to be told they need surgery. Right now is an existential threat because the experienced people are leaving. Right? So how do we resolve this? Or how do we curtail this? Because number one, I've already said that you cannot. I think the solution is not in blocking people. I think they tried to do it in Nigeria in the House of Representatives. It didn't work. They were trying to introduce legislation to stop people from going. I think that was one of the dumbest decisions ever. And I'm glad that thing got shut down very quickly. It didn't pass because you can't force people, right? Anybody can move anywhere they want, and I believe people have the right to choose where they live, where they choose to spend their time, whatever it is. We just have to be smart to mitigate the risks that would happen because of this. So this is my take on it. This is my solution. I'm glad you stayed up to this length. So this has to do with economics, right? It's demand and supply. We know we have a product, right? As Africa, we have a product that is appealing to the market. The market is Europe and the aging developing world, the aging developed world. So the Europe, North America, Australia, and those places, their population, they are growing. Their population, they are not young anymore. But Africa, we have massive concentration of young people here. So it's demand and supply. Why don't we turn this to our advantage? When we can turn this to our advantage simply by leveraging the young people that we have and scaling them in the area that they are needed in the world. How do we do that? Okay, I'm just going to break it down in a second. So this is my proposal. For all these people that are being shipped out, literally, right? They're being dangled this, carrot in front of their faces that they can't resist. They are helpless. They have to jump on it. What this can our governments, and I want you watching this video to take a step, because you can make a difference. Speak to your member of parliament, speak to your minister, speak to your regional, local authority coordinator. Let's push this thing out. First of all, what I see is the biggest solution is that for these countries that are siphoning African talent, I believe every African leader or every African country, they should come together, coordinate very quickly, and approach the UK government, approach the Ireland government, the Canadian government, the Australian government, the German, the EU. That, okay, look, we notice that you have an issue in healthcare. In terms of professionals and skilled labor. Fine. We have plenty of young people. We have plenty. We over 60% of people in especially sub-Saharan Africa are young people under the ages of 25. But in some countries, it's even up to 75% of the entire population under 25 years. So this is a prime age for them to be trained. So they go to these UK governments, and this has to be done very quickly. We can't wait. That, okay, look, we don't mind you taking our talent. Right now, you are stealing our talent, and that is wrong. You are basically stealing. Okay, you come to my home. You don't come to the main door. You go to the window. You dangle a brand spanking new iPhone to a teenager in my house. What do you expect a teenager to do? I don't have the money to buy that brand new teenager for that phone for that teenager, right? That teenager, what they're going to do, they're just going to say, "Dad, excuse me, I just want to do something outside," and you follow you. That is what UK and the other countries are doing. They are stealing talent. So what we have to do is we approach this government that, look, we see that you are stealing our talent. Okay, it's fair and square. Now, what we want you to go by it right. The right way is that, okay, this is the agreement we're going to go with you. We know you have the talent. We can train more for you. But what we are going to do is that any one talent you take from the continent of Africa, you're going to invest in 5 new young people that are going to be trained in the area of nursing in Africa. You're going to pay. So if you take one experienced nurse, this nurse that I was talking about, my friend, he has 10 years experience, right, in a specialized area of health. He's in nephrology, is I think kidney care. He takes care of kidney patients, and he's done this for 10 years. Do you know how long it's going to take to train somebody else? So we say, okay, look, you're taking these experienced guys. We are helpless. We can't do nothing about it. But at a minimum, for every one person that leaves our shores, you are going to plant 5 more trees just like that. You're going to help us plant. Okay, so you're going to help train 5 more African youths that we will put through our nursing institutions, and then that money or that resource that will come in for those 5 people, we'll use it to train them and also build massive nursing training institutions. Then Africa will now become a net exporter of nurses around the world, like Philippines and Vietnam. They have done, especially in India as well, particularly in the US. There are a lot of Filipino nurses in the US. A lot of Vietnamese nurses in the US. So Africa can turn this into an advantage, whereby for each we approach UK, and we are going to have to do it in a way of name and shame. If they do not, we have no option than to be shaming the UK government that you are stealing talent, and it is morally wrong on the continent, because the continent that has very weak healthcare institutions. And one of the key pillars of health delivery is the healthcare professionals. That's one of the key pillars. So we have infrastructure, right? That's the buildings and the physical assets and things. We have infrastructure. Then we have the talent, which is the healthcare professionals, and then or the ecosystem, or the equipment, the consumables, and the things that are needed to deliver care. I think, to me, in my mind, as a non-healthcare person, I believe those are the 3 core pillars of proper healthcare delivery: the facilities or the physical infrastructure, the professionals or the healthcare professionals, the talented people, the doctors, the nurses, the physical therapies, and the likes, the lab technicians, the phlebotomists, and what have you. All those people constitute the second leg of proper healthcare delivery. So what the West is doing, that they are weakening healthcare delivery in Africa. Weakening it. Now, I don't know whether it benefits them in the short term, but crushes Africa in the long term. So Africa cannot sit back and make this happen. So let's push this. Let's get this video pushed throughout everywhere, and let our lawmakers act. They should act now. Our presidents, they should come together. African Union must approach UK today. They must approach US government, Canadian government, everyone. Talent that is taken out of the continent of Africa should be replaced by 5 people. And what will happen is that it will come to a point as we do this, there will be oversaturation. As you do the oversaturation, will make sure that no more talent. I mean, UK cannot absorb all these people at a certain point in time. At a certain point, that there will be oversaturation. So Africa will be a net retainer of healthcare professionals. And then I would implore those who are going, go, do well. If you have to study, do more studies, advanced study, specialist study, do it. And then at a point in time, come back. If not coming to settle, you can come back, or you can organize a program whereby you come and do, let's say, a 3-week course, refresher course for those who are here, stay. That you can come back and share your knowledge. Sometimes you may not even have to come back. You just have to create forums whereby you'll be able to cross-share information, cross-share ideas, latest technology, latest ways and means of doing procedures and that kind of thing, where there's that kind of information sharing, dialogue, collaboration. So I'm all for you going, go, get the skills, get the knowledge, get the exposure. And then as you get that exposure, find a way, maybe once every 2 years, you come back to come and work with a teaching hospital for, let's say, a month or or 2 weeks to help train the other people, the younger people who are part of this 5-to-1 pool. And basically, I think that's about it. So thank you so much for watching. I want us to push it because this is an existential threat for Africa that nobody is talking about. Our politicians are not talking about it. They are talking about useless stuff. Some of the time, not all the time, but most of the things that we see on the TV are not. They are just party political bickering. They are not solving real issues on the ground. And this is a real issue because if we don't act, the politician, when their relatives are sick, they will ship them out to UK. You, the ordinary person, where are you going to take your relative to? And frankly, too, that's also foolhardy. Some sicknesses will not even give you that time to be able to ship your parent or your friend or your relative to UK or anywhere else for treatment. Some of them is life and death within 30 minutes. That's why we need to strengthen our healthcare institutions. All right. Thank you so much for watching. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Like this video. And if you have any comment or anything, just drop them in the comment section underneath this video. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you so much.